Internet, and today's video is going to be a Top 5 Wednesday. This is a Goodreads group run by Sam over at Thoughts on Tomes. Both links are down below. Now I know this is the second time in a row I am doing this video on not a Wednesday. I'm sorry, I guess, but we're gonna get into it. So the topic for this is future classics. So any book, any sort of entertainment you think will be a classic sometime in the future. Number 1, Harry Potter. Now I know this is a pretty generic answer, but there is a reason why this is such a popular answer when this question is asked. When we look at books that have had a great influence on life, we think of books like Shakespeare. Those are classics, right? They've had some sort of impact on everyday life. Now, Harry Potter, everyone knows about it. There's a reason why it would become a classic and will become a classic. Everybody, ever since this book was first introduced into the public, has known about it. Babies today are now born with the knowledge that Harry Potter exists. Whether or not you've read the books, whether or not you've watched the movies, whether or not you even know what the story is, you know that there is a kid named Harry Potter and he's out there fighting the Dark Lord. It doesn't matter, everyone knows it. It has become so ingrained in our culture and such a big part of pop culture that I would be really surprised if it doesn't make its way into becoming a classic. Book number 2, The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. Now, I must admit, I haven't yet to read this book. I plan to in the near future. However, based on the topic that it's about, if you don't know, it talks about race relations and a girl as she is in the middle of a battle between the white community and the black community. It has a lot to do with the Black Lives Matter movement. Now, we've always had race problems. No one can deny that. And it's only become more and more apparent in the recent years how big those problems are, because more and more people are getting more outspoken about the effects these race problems have, and they refuse to stand down and just put up with stuff anymore. So it's becoming a very hot topic. What Angie Thomas does is she puts a black girl in a situation in which this girl must decide which side to support. Does she support the white side where she has a lot of friends, or does she support the black side because she is black? And speaking from personal experience, that is a problem that I've had a lot. I've always grown up in a lot of white-based communities, and I've grown up in black or minority communities, and it is difficult to flow between. Should I be with them because I know that they aren't intentionally trying to be mean to me, they're not out there seeking to be racist, or should I be with the minority side because I am a minority? And I think that's an interesting topic, and I think it will definitely influence later. Now, again, I have not read it myself, so I don't know if she does it well, but from what I've heard of reviews and what I have heard from others, from my own experience, and what I believe she does in her book, from hearing about it, I think this will become a classic. Book number 3 is The Absolutely True Diary of a Half Indian by Sherman Alexie, I believe. Now, this book, I'm not sure how popular it is in the wider world. I read it, and I know a few other people who have read it, mainly just my brother because I made him read it. But I love the concept of this book. Again, it has to do with being multicultural, and I am multicultural, so I have always struggled with this, trying to figure out how you're supposed to act based on which culture you're currently in. And this talks about a young boy. He is an Indian, a First Nation person, and he lives on a reserve in America, and his parents send him to the quote-unquote white school outside of the reserve, and at this school he's trying to figure out how to act more white so that he can be accepted. He's not doing this to bash his own culture, he's just so afraid to be himself. He doesn't want to be seen badly because he is a First Nation person, and because of the horrible history that has gone on between the First Nation people and the European people. So he doesn't want to draw himself out, so he's trying to pretend to be something he's not. So he calls himself a part-time Indian. He acts like somebody else who's not an Indian when he's over at this white school, but he's still an Indian, and he struggles with this, struggles with being who he is, but also trying to fit in. And he's so scared that if he lets his culture fly, if he shows his promotion of that, if he shows the struggles that he has with being who he is, that he won't be accepted at school. So I think that definitely deserves to be a classic. Number 3 is Supernatural. This was first introduced to the public in 2005, and it had success. I mean, go on Tumblr. This is definitely going to be on a cult classic. If you have ever been on Tumblr, if you've ever been on any social media platform ever, you are like bombarded with Supernatural memes. Tumblr especially, I'm pretty sure it's run by Supernatural fans, and then everyone else just happens to be there. Supernatural is definitely going to be a cult classic for good reason. It has a great storyline, it has very intriguing characters, and it does border the line of what is good and what is evil, what makes us right, what makes us wrong. And number 5 is, I'm not quite sure how to categorize it. This is a manga, an anime, live action movie, and then that hideous trailer that they came out with on Netflix. And what I'm talking about is Death Note. So Death Note was written by Tsushima Oba and illustrated by Takashi Obata. I'm sorry if I mispronounced it. Either way, Death Note will be another cult classic. Whatever form you take it in, it's going to be a cult classic. It was first introduced into the public, I believe, in 2003, and ever since then it has grown. This is a psychological thriller, and it shows the battle between light and L, and we blur the lines between good and bad once again. We're struggling with this idea, and people love that. Now, the reason why I'm going to say this will be a cult classic is because of all of the dedication put into the work itself and the fan dedication to the work. Now, this has been listed as one of the best anime / mangas ever created. I believe by Japan themselves, they listed it as this. There has been outrageous events that have happened because of this book. Like, we have had tons of murders surrounding themes that happen in this book, like having death notes down. Like, there have been kids getting in trouble for having death notebooks. There have been murders that happen that mimic the ones that happen in the manga and anime. I definitely think this is worthy enough to become a cult classic. It has made its ground, and even now, later, years after it's ended, it's still making an appearance. People are still following this. People are still remembering this. I don't think that this will ever go away. So those are the top 5 books that I believe will become future classics. Now, if you have any other ideas for books that you believe will be future classics, whether or not because they have such a big standing in the mainstream media, or just because you personally would want that to be a future classic, comment down below and let me know. If you disagree with any of my choices, or you're kind of hesitant about it, or you never really thought about it, comment down below and let me know. Subscribe to my channel if you like what you're seeing here. Ring the little bell if you want to be notified every time I put out a new video. So, goodbye, Internet.